There we go. Wow, 45 seconds. I'm finally connected. Oh man, nobody's going to want to watch this. Let's see here. Try to set this up. And maybe I can balance this on something. All right. Good evening, Danny. How you doing, man? Hopefully I didn't lose you already. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's not giving me an update of who's here and if we're live or not because my Wi-Fi was doing some really funky things. So I wanted to go live. Hey Tony, how you doing, man? And say hey to everybody. I had to take down my other live stream that I took on the way to the gym the other day because it had like my logo on my left chest, and I was driving up and down the street, and there was road signs and everything. So I wasn't quite ready to reveal my personal identity and my business name quite yet. But I'm back, and I wanted to put another live stream Q&A out here just to answer anybody's questions who didn't make it at like 7:30 or 8 in the morning the other day to talk about the trade show that I just went to. So we spent, I tallied it up, but it was over $4,300 that we spent going to this trade show last week. It was Wednesday and it was Thursday. It was 5 hours, so from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Wednesday and 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Thursday. It was super expensive. I think I tallied it up at like $5 a minute is what I was paying to be at this trade show. Ian Z Prentco, what's up, man? This is the first time I've been live. I think that you've made it. And man, so like at $5 a minute, I was acutely aware of like every second that was passing. And there was times at this trade show when I'm sitting here and my wife was with me and nobody was there. It was supposed to be 4,500 people or more that were showing up to this trade show, and I don't know, maybe there was, maybe there wasn't, but there was one guy in particular that came up, and he introduced himself, as like this guy who rubbed shoulders with a really famous wealthy person, and they came up together and they did business, and he was talking it up like we were going to do like this big order. And then he tells me that like his wife and kids had him committed to like an elderly home because he had dementia and Alzheimer's. And I realized like 15 minutes in that this dude was just completely wasting my time to tell me his life story. And it was something like $85 that I'd spent listening to this guy's life story. I was like, bro, you know, I get that you're lonely, but maybe we should just go out for coffee some other time, and you can spend $5 on a Starbucks for me instead of me spending $90 at this trade show on my dime. But one thing that we pulled out of this whole situation was that a lot of people will talk, ends, ends. Oh, okay, all right. Ends is ENDS. Got it. I'll try to pronounce it right from now on. One thing I pulled out of this trade show though was a lot of people will just talk, and they'll make it sound like they are the biggest buyer ever, and then when I follow up over email, hi, it was great seeing you at the trade show. I had a fantastic time chatting with you, and we even took notes to the point where I was like, hey, John Smith with blah 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 company. This is what he does. This is what he's wanting to have done. And we took like a 2 sentence note on each person, and we would scan their tag, so we got their contact information, and then we would get their business card. So we'd follow up with them, and I'd say, hey, it was great seeing you. We had a great conversation. This is something we talked about. Would you like to move forward on finding out information about that? And I think out of 50 people that I've contacted so far, we've had a grand total of 7 of them that have expressed interest in moving forward. And of those 7, 3 of them are even worth like our time. I guess you're like over 24 pieces, which is our rock bottom minimum. However, out of this whole situation, there was a company that we've been courting for like the past year and a half. We've been talking to them about taking over their employee merch portal. So if you're not familiar with what that is, for larger companies, they have like their HR department or their office staff will be in charge of like taking all of the sizes and all of the information down from all of their employees. And if it's a larger company, 100 employees, 200 employees, you're talking about maybe a full work week worth of man hours that they're dedicating just to getting sizes and assembling orders to pass on to somebody like us. So one of the pieces of technology that we've introduced is the ability for us to just set up a behind the scenes portal. And I know that like Inksoft and Deco Network have stuff like this. Hey, Dep Dad, good to see you. Um, but the technology isn't super robust. The websites are very ugly. If you've seen like a Deco Network merch site, but you can pick like stuff out of a Sanmar and Alpha Broder catalog and add them to the website. Usually they don't have mockups, so our websites look a little bit cleaner and nicer, and we put the mockups in there and we allow the customers to pick their products to do. But this can save a huge amount of logistics for the HR department. So we introduced that at this trade show for some of the larger companies, and specifically one that we've been trying to reach out to. I sent him an email beforehand and said, hey, look, I hope we can see you at the trade show because we've got something we want to talk to you about. We've got some freebies for you, whatever. And they didn't respond back, but the owner and his business partner showed up at our booth and started talking to us. And because we were there at the trade show that was relevant to their industry, and all of our marketing materials on the wall were super relevant to this trade show. And that's one thing that we did was we set up banners, we set up brochures, business cards, everything to be perfect, a perfect fit, high visibility stuff because it was a construction show. And when they came up to us and they started talking to us, just being there was like an opportunity cost. It was we came there, we must be somebody who is worth talking to, as opposed to all of the other vendors that I'm sure email them on a regular basis. And out of that, we got the go ahead to schedule a meeting with the owner. So coming out of that, we're doing a lot of preparation, and we're assembling, like mock-ups and samples and custom hats and shirts and things like that are really going to blow them out of the water because they wanted to see something cool. They already have every last one of the basic polos that you could embroider. They're used to all of, the camo hex kind of novelty items that are coming out of SNS Activewear and Alpha and Sanmar already, and nothing's really going to impress them. And their logo isn't something where simulated process or a full color design is going to be all that appealing to them. So we're going to try to hit them with like the 3D rubberized patches, the PVC patches that you can sew down. We're going to try to pull in some very uniquely constructed hats out of China. And there's some options that you can do with like fully constructed hats that'll just blow people's minds. So we're going to bring that to them as like a calling card to say, hey, look, your contract for setting up your merch portal is worth, in their case, 250 times 75. So whatever that is, 75 employees, $250 per employee. That's what the contract is worth on a yearly basis, plus whatever marketing or promotional stuff that they're wanting to do. And we're going to use this as like the gateway to that. And so I guess coming out of the trade show, that's the most exciting thing, is having a couple of customers that we've wanted to get in touch with that showed up, shook our hands, and now gave us the go ahead to meet with them after we've been stalled by gatekeepers for the past year. Apart from that, though, even though we've spent like $4,500 on this whole gig, we're $4,300 on it, I'm not sure if we're going to get all that many direct sales out of it. Out of the 80 leads, we've only followed up with, I'll say, a third of them. And of the third, it hasn't looked too hopeful so far. But some of these bigger decision makers are busy people, and we may have to follow up with them a couple times before we really know if they're dead leads. And I'll keep emailing them too, to make sure that if this person expressed interest, I'm going to follow up with them over email, and we're going to call them, and we're going to deliver maybe some samples to them until we know that it's a dead lead and they tell us, hey, look, man, I'm not interested. And we're not going to be rude about it. We're just going to be persistent until either they say, you know what, I appreciate you emailing me this week because it just so happens I have an order for 150 pieces, or they say, look, man, I am just not interested. We've got a company we're happy with. Maybe they'll own up to it and say we were wasting your time, but probably not. And we're okay. If somebody tells me stop following up, that's fine. But most of the time, it's strange. Usually when I finally think to follow up with someone and I do it 3 or 4 times in a row, at some point, they might not have even responded to several of my emails. This just happened yesterday or the day before yesterday. We're setting up our Thanksgiving gift baskets. And I'm changing speeds here. But if you saw the post that I put out on YouTube a little while ago, we just went and delivered 4 Thanksgiving gift baskets. And my wife helped me assemble them, and she baked like some really cool artisan loaves because she had a bakery for a while, and she put together, a whole plate of cinnamon rolls. So you've got these baskets that are worth, I don't know, at least $115 retail, because we have 2 or 3 T-shirts, Money is in the follow-up. Yes, absolutely. How are there not 100 people here? That's funny. Thank yous. Um, so back to what I was saying. Anyways, these baskets are worth like $115 retail, and we're trying to apply the Go Giver concept where these people have already put orders with us. We're not trying to like hustle them for new business. We just want to connect with them. Say thank you. In fact, one of the people we're doing a basket for, or we did a basket for, went with another vendor this year, and that's a non insignificant amount of money for us to have lost out on year over year. But we went ahead and we gave the decision maker a basket all the same. And anyways, it was two or three T-shirts. It was anywhere from 1 to 3 loaves. We gave them a pin, a keychain, and these are all promotional products we ran for other people. And then we had brochures, we had catalogs, business cards, and of course, they get to keep the basket. It's all wrapped in cellophane, and there was spreads for the bread, like cashew butter and peanut butter, and like mixes of Nutella and all kinds of different stuff like that. And it was just a nice little thing for the decision maker or for the office staff or for the purchasing manager, whatever it is, anybody who we've dealt with in the past. And we did 4 of those today. So our cost on that, because it was all assembled or baked or done in house, was minimal. We're talking maybe 35 bucks, 40 bucks a piece. And you're in the same position if you've got your own shop. You can put together a t-shirt for $2.50 that a customer is going to have the perceived $10 or $15 retail value. So that's a huge opportunity. If you print your own business cards or if you print marketing materials, all of that you're getting at a fraction of what the retail is. So if you bundle that together and give that to a customer as a thank you, they're going to see this as a very rich gift and they're going to appreciate it. Whether or not that turns into customer loyalty or follow-up sales or anything that's going to benefit you in the long run, it's kind of up for debate. But in my experience, giving something to somebody else without the expectation, like we didn't walk in there with these baskets and say, now you better do business with us next year, or now let me give this to you, but I really want to make sure it goes to the decision maker. We just gave it freely and hope that it ended up in the right place. And last week, this is right after the trade show, we connected with somebody from a company that does about $1.3 billion in yearly revenue. And it was just a pure luck happenstance. Somebody who used to work for a company that I merged with and eventually acquired, and then it was a huge fallout. Anybody who's heard part of my story knows how crazy that situation was. But anyways, this woman has been kind of in and out of the embroidery scene on her own for the past several years, and she connected me to a woman who was doing purchasing for like a fundraiser run. I'm trying to be as specific as I can be without just saying the name of the company or the foundation. And she connected us with this buyer, and the buyer said, "Hey, look, I have an immediate need to pick up some shirts, about 55 shirts." And it needs to be Pantone matched for the inks here, and it needs to be Pantone matched for the color of the shirt there. And I spent about 25-30 minutes on the phone with this lady, going through how we could get a close Pantone match in the color of the shirt, how we can get a close Pantone match in the ink color, for an insignificant order, a $350 order, one color, one location, with not that great art. But because she introduced herself as being part of this large company, I knew we had something there. So we took the time to go with her through all of this. In fact, I picked a Pantone color that was available from Gildan, only to find out that within the course of 3 or 4 days, they no longer offered this Pantone color that I wanted. Super frustrating, because I had sold her on this color. It was an exact match to the color of their brand guide. And I had to go back to her and say, look, I can upgrade you to a next level. It's not going to be an exact match in color, but it'll be similar, and I'm not going to charge you for it. I'm just going to treat this like a donation. So we put the order together, we delivered the order, but when we delivered the order, as a thank you, we put together one of these $120 value baskets and delivered both of them. So because I didn't just deliver t-shirts, I carried it in and brought the basket and everything with me. She said, hold on, you've got to come with me here. And she walked me all the way through, the floor that they had. And I thought that the branch that I was going to visit was small, because she said, oh, this is one of our smaller satellite branches. Well, I get in here, it's on the 4th floor, and they've got the entire 4th and 5th floor of this building. And it was like a sea of cubicles. Oh, this is there's 17 departments at this satellite branch.
and there's 50 cubicles and there's meeting rooms and boardrooms and all this stuff that I'm walking past. And we get all the way past like 400 yards back in this huge building. And the whole time, I'm carrying 55 shirts and a 30-pound basket, and my hands are getting all like clammy and sweaty. So I set it down on the I don't know what you call it. She was the director of this department, so a department head or whatever. Set it down. She said, "I'd like to introduce you to main contact here. He not only came through with us on this order in a rush, but he also wanted to bring us this basket." And the lady was so impressed that she shook my hand and said, "Thank you so much. I'm going to let the vice president of the department, or not the department, the vice president of the branch, so the entire overseeing manager, found out that we had delivered this basket." So as a result, I get an email and a call the next day, and they say, "Look, thank you so much for doing that for us. We appreciate you coming through in a pinch." And everybody loved the basket. The contents of the basket, I guess, tasted good, and they thought it was very thoughtful. They got the ball rolling internally. As so, there's an external application process that you can fill out, and I did, to become a vendor for this company. And the external application process is, are you a minority business owner? Are you a certified veteran? Or do you have this? And they have like this long process that you have to go through. But there's all of these levels of bureaucracy. And then on the flip side, they have an internal request to become a vendor. So the internal request to become a vendor is, it's kind of like, we need something now and we need this person to do it. What do we have to do to expedite this process? So the internal request is almost like a formality to get you on their vendor list, and then I'd have to go back and fill out the external paperwork just to qualify. So after I filled out the external vendor list, or the vendor application, I get the call and they say, "Look, I filled out the internal vendor application. Just give me a few of these details. I'll connect the two, and we're going to shoehorn you in very quickly." So the whole process got expedited as a result of a simple $120 basket that we gave with an insignificant order. I probably ate the vast majority of the profit from that order just to create this basket, because I mean, had I not done, and this was our logic between me and my wife when we were talking about it. We told ourselves, or we discussed it. We said, if we were trying to get in with this foundation, this company, we would be banging our heads against the wall, wondering, who on earth do we talk to get their business? How do we, shake the right tree to get walked into the office of the right person to be able to present what we can do and convince them to work with us? And I mean, that's a real concern. We bumped into that forever. How do we go shake the right trees to get business with the right people? And here we are with this person that, just because of a need, reached out to us, and we were able to come through with them. How do we capitalize on that? Well, you better believe taking all of the profit from this order to create a calling card that's going to get a hook from the right person is an opportunity we're not going to pass up. And we didn't. We took the risk that taking a $50 and giving it in the form of a gift would hopefully open the right doors, and it did. And here we are now. We're a certified vendor with this relatively large company because of a fortuitous set of events that we jumped on. And I think that could really work for a lot of y'all's businesses. If you're wondering how to get in with the right company, the right person at the right company, just bring a gift basket with some of your information and just give something to them. Maybe it's an embroidered polo with their company's information on it. If you give it to the person at the front desk, it's much easier to get past the gatekeeper if you're giving something than it is if you're coming in trying to take their time. All I want from you is 15 minutes. Well, I'm busy. If I'm sitting here, I'm busy. I don't want to just waste my time with somebody who's trying to sell me something, especially when I'm at work. But if you come in and give them something, that's going to go a long way, and nobody else is doing that. So if you're a small business trying to grow, I highly recommend that. Side note, I'm actually in Discord right now, and any of the 7 or 6 of you, whoever's coming and going, y'all are actually welcome to jump into Discord and join a conversation with me right here on the phone. And I would love to ask you questions, or you can ask me questions and I'll answer them. And we can kind of go from there. So I don't know if any of y'all are live and online right now and are also part of the Discord, but I am sitting inside the voice chat, the general voice chat room, and I'd love to chat with y'all if you guys are comfortable with that. What's that, Danny?
Is just one word. I can't really respond to that. But thank you, DepDad. I appreciate that. Um, Anyways, what else? So I went over how much money we spent. We spent about 4,300 plus on this trade show. It's a lot of money, and I'm able to get about 300 of that back because Sanmar accepts they accept returns on samples. That's one thing I didn't realize. So if you open a PO with Sanmar specifically, and I'm not a Sanmar rep, I don't do much business with them actually. But if you open a PO with Sanmar and you let them know that it's a trade show sample, they'll ship the samples to you for free. Now they have two different versions. They have like grommeted and like marked samples that are not really usable, and then they have a sample program where you can get 50 or 100 pieces or whatever you want and then show them at a trade show and return them. That's what we did. I spent like $300 or $400. I got a bunch of samples for the trade show, and then when we were done with them, we did have to pay for a label and send it back, but we're going to get 100% refund on those, which is nice. Alpha Broder doesn't do that. They give you discounted samples, I think half off, but you have to pay for everything and keep it. And then I have no idea with everybody else. But most of the business that we do right now is with most of the business we do right now is with Alpha Broder and Sanmar and SNS Activewear with a little bit of TSC sprinkled in the mix. And another fun tip would be if you get an order of shirts for over, I think it's over 500 pieces, start a bidding war with all of the different vendors. And you have to know that the prices that you're getting on blanks is not necessarily the same as what the larger screen printers are paying. So I think we were paying for a long time $1.85 to $1.95 for colored Gildans, and they recently jumped it up to like 209, I think is what it is. But even at that price, if you have an individual order for like 500 pieces, get in touch with your rep. If you have a rep, if you just have a like a public outside rep or inside rep, whatever it is, and you have to call the 1-800 number, you may or may not qualify for it. But I would still try to start a bidding war with them and say, hey, look, I've got this order. What's the best price you can do for all of these? And they'll usually come back with, well, you know what? Normally for a long sleeve pocketed Gildan, it's $4.50, but we can do small through XL for $3.72. So especially when you've got an order that's relatively tight and you're looking at, trying to retail it or sell it to your customer for $8, if you can add a full dollar to your margins, that could be huge, absolutely huge. I mean, we had an order like that and we added $800 just to our bottom line where we cut that much out of cost and turned it right into profit. And the $800 was enough to pay for all of our inks and everything we needed for that specific job. So just a side note for anybody who might be curious about that. Let me open it up for questions if anybody has some questions to ask. And let me look at top chat and here. So who's with me still? I see Danny, I see DepDad, I see Inns, and then Tony P. Who's still with us here in the chat? Let's light it up a little bit. And does anybody have any questions? How would you go about learning screen printing for someone new and only part-time? So I guess my question to you, Danny, would be, do you have access to any printing equipment? And you can answer that while I'm kind of following up with your question. But as far as learning, the cheapest way to do it would be just to get yourself a couple of screens, and you want to practice the emulsion and burning process because you really want to nail your burn times. I know if when I was using my like 500 watt halogen light, the dual cure diazo that I was using would just start curdling after a little while, but and it would get tougher to emulse and burn. But absolutely practicing your burn times until you get those nailed in, and then trying to figure out your off contact. In fact, hold on, let me show you something. Let me see here. I got this DVD a long time ago, Screen Printing 101 Revision 2. In fact, I had two different versions of it. I only ever opened version 1. This one came whenever I bought somebody else's shop, and I just kind of kept it. But Ryanette put this out a while ago, and they do a really good job of walking you through everything that you need to know to learn how to screen print. And you don't even have to do anything. You just have to watch it, and you'll get a lot of general knowledge to go from 0 to 100. From the business standpoint, I'm putting out that ultimate guide to starting your own screen printing business with $0, and hopefully that's going to help a lot of people with the the financial side or the business building side or the prospecting side. But as far as the technical stuff, man, I can't recommend this one enough. In fact, maybe I'll even do a giveaway. I think we hit 2,000 subscribers. Maybe I'll do a giveaway of this DVD, because right now it's just sitting here doing nothing for me. In fact, it hasn't been opened in 5 years. Or when was this? There's no copyright on it, so I have no idea how long it's been sitting here, but it's been sitting around for at least 5 years. But yeah, Screen Printing 101 from Ryonet is a great resource. Anybody else? Y'all are welcome to ask questions while I am talking and making dinner. Well, very good. I have to go in and make some dinner myself here before too long. I can't think of anything else, guys. I just kind of rambled for the last 26 minutes and 15 seconds. So I'm probably going to call it right now. And I have a scripted video that I'm working on right now, for anybody who's curious, where I'm going to kind of go over, the amount of money we spent on the trade show. Danny, do you print on other items? Yeah, man. We print on textiles. That's one of the big things that set us apart and got us some of our wholesale clients, for better or worse, because the wholesale clients don't really pay that well. But like, we print on this mesh. In fact, I've got some of that mesh here. And this stuff, let's see if I can just grab an individual piece of it. This stuff is like, I don't know if you can see, yeah, this is like a polyester mesh. And if you saw my video where I talked about losing $4,000, this is the textile material I was talking about. I burned through a pallet, like 1,000 pieces of this stuff that was worth retail. I think it was worth like $450 to $750 for each of these like sheets that get sewn into a bag. And then my cost on the 3 rolls to replace them was like $1,100 out of pocket. So I was only charging 67 cents to print one color, one side, on that textile. And so I think my total on 900 bags worth of textile was like $600 flat. And then we burned through $1,100 of material. So we ate it, absolutely ate it on that. Hey, Sebastian, good to see you, man. And that was a rough situation. But yes, we printed on those. We tried printing on napkins. That was something else we printed on. It was this linen fabric napkin, and that was another unique experience. The lady wanted water-based ink on that, and we're experienced with Plastisol, not water-based. That was in the $4,000 lost video. Seems like I lose a lot of money on textiles, right? One of the jobs that we did do that was pretty neat was canvas, though. We used repurposed military canvas. It looked like stuff they used for tents in the military. I don't know where it came from, but it was for a documentary a Vietnam War documentary by Ken Burns and Lynn Novak. I usually get their names mixed up, but anyways, they gave out like 4,000 bags for this huge festival as like thank yous to all the donators for PBS, and they had real nice leather straps and these brass rivets and everything. And we had to print like these Pantone matched colors front and back, and they took like magnifying glasses to the accuracy of our print. And we had them on our manual, and it was something like 8,000 prints. It was stacked floor to ceiling with their material. I had green dust just settling for months. But yeah, textiles, t-shirts. I have a hat press, not a mug press, but a hat press. And for a lot of our like funkier stuff that screen printing doesn't lend itself to, we have like 3 heads of embroidery, and we have 2 heat presses. So I have like 2 Hotronix heat presses that'll cover the rest of the spectrum. I don't know how to get my text. Let me see, top chat. There we go. So I saw some questions I want to go back to real quick. Danny. And then, hey, I got a question. I had a 100 shirt order, and I did like your other video. Said went to local screen printers, and the cheapest price you could get was $2. Okay, so Big Will, if you're still here, and I don't know if you are, tell me, what was the situation with the 100 pieces you were trying to get done locally? Because $2 isn't that bad for 100 pieces, especially if you don't have any pre-existing relationship with the wholesale printer. And is that $2 including the screen setup, and how many colors were involved there? I want to know that because you would probably fall under the 72 to 143 piece price. And offhand, I don't know what ours is, but I think it's like in the 225 to 250 range is what I would charge wholesale. Maybe I haven't looked at my wholesale price in a while. Um, but yeah, $2 bringing your own shirts, which is, I guess, as long as you're not getting charged for their markup. A lot of times, if you bring your own shirts, they charge 50 cents on top. So let me know some of the specifics about that because I'm curious. Cups and pens, etc. Danny, yes, let me answer that. We don't print cups and pins in house. We have access to a lot of trade printers. So for business cards, brochures, banners, flyers, 800,000 promotional products that we offer, a lot of that we don't have the capabilities to do in house, which is okay because there's a company 45 minutes away from me that has 4 or 5 multi-acre facilities, and I got to tour it a while back. They do like well over $300 million in promotional products, and they were like enameling cups and sending them through. And they had hundreds of pad presses where they would just do one color transfers on pens and mugs and you name it. They could do it on anything, and they had all these special dyes. They had a guy who was paid like 80 grand a year, and all he would do was come up with acrylic dyes to hold all the unique Chotsky crap that they would pull out of China. And he would figure out a way to like hold it to pad print on top of it. And it was incredible to see what they had. And it made me realize that I have no interest in doing in-house Chotsky item printing, especially when, like, if you're familiar with ASI and Sage and PPAI, that's the Promotional Product Advertising Institution and Advertising Specialty Institution, and I have no idea what SAGE's acronym is. But typically, you can get promotional products for anywhere. They have named letter codes next to it, but you can get them from anywhere from 40% of retail to about 60, 70% of retail, and that'll open up doors for you to do anything. Awards, engraved, laser etched glass, all that stuff. And you may or may not want to advertise doing that because you don't, in my experience, building a business around like specialty products and promotional products is difficult because nowadays anybody can go online for the most part and they can get your retail price. So if somebody wanted to go online and buy a stress ball, for the most part, somebody online is going to do it for within 5% above or below what I can offer it for. So for me to offer it without an option to be able to buy it immediately doesn't make sense. Instead, what I'll do is, in the course of discussing what we can do as a full marketing solution for a client, we'll bring up the fact that, hey, we also do promotional products. And if they have a specific need or an event or a trade show, then we ask questions and then curate a selection of 5 or 6 or 7 products for them to pick from. And I can put together a little like sell sheet brochure presentation, and they can flip through and say, oh yeah, I really like, this battery charger that you're suggesting here. Oh, and I really like, this item or that item, whatever it is. Instead of and that's even on our website. I say, are you tired of looking around for websites that expect you to do everything yourself? Come to us and we'll offer you a curated solution that's going to meet your needs, because who better to guide the client than you or I, who spend all of our time in this industry. When it comes down to screen printing shirts, for the most part, it comes down to a Gildan or equivalent basic shirt. They don't need to spend time looking through an 800-page catalog to find a standard t-shirt. They won't know the difference. If they want a premium t-shirt, then we could move up to like a district or whatever tier 2 premium t-shirt there is. If they want a nice t-shirt, then we can go to Next Level or American Apparel or Alternative or Bella Canvas. And then if they really want to go premium, which in my 10-year history, nobody has ever really wanted to fork over the money for a Pima cotton blank, then we can explore those options as well. But most people, when you start talking to them, they get overwhelmed if they have to go out and DIY everything. So, that's the value we bring to the table in promotional products and a lot of that other stuff, is just saying, yes, I can do all of this for you, and I'll curate this list and make it simple and easy for you to digest. And then they're picking from 2 or 3 or 4 options instead of trying to like use Google as a search engine to find ideas and suggestions, or Pinterest or whatever. So let's see here. I don't think I looked at the chat for a while. Let me go back in here. Big Will You have a heat press. You went with one color 12 by 12 transfers from F&M Expressions. Yeah, that's great. They've got like a 15-cent program or a 20-cent program. And they didn't used to have a setup fee. Like it used to be nothing except for shipping. And you just had to order like, I think $25 worth of transfers, which was easy. And now I think it's a $25 setup with the 15-cent program. So yeah, that is probably the best way to do if you have a 12 by 12 press or a heat press in general. What's this guy talking about? Thanks, Bank of America. I'd love to take your business. And then 80 cents a sheet. That's kind of wanted 100 pieces. So that's kind of odd that it took 80 cents a piece for 100 pieces. That means you spent $80 on that order. Interesting. Let me see. Bank of America just trolling his way through. I love it. And then you're welcome, Danny, of course. So INS, I didn't know you did transfers. I'd be interested to find out more. I don't know if you're on our Discord or not, but you should go in there because I actually had a question today. Don't tell any of the big DTGers, but I had a need today for somebody who could print DTG. So I'll admit it, I'm not above needing DTG from time to time. I got a phone call, story time. I got a phone call from a high profile client. So recently we took on a client that looked like they were going to do big business. So far they haven't. I mean, they're poised to do really big business. The wife has almost 5 million followers on Instagram, and she has a spot on, like a permanent spot 5 days a week on a national TV show. And her husband has like 750,000 followers, and he's a big time performer. So getting their merchandise contract seemed like it would be a guaranteed huge client. It has been anything but a big cash cow to this point. But anyways, because I got them and because of the name recognition of having this customer that hasn't turned any money, I was able to get in touch with another customer on the East Coast that is looking to overhaul their merchandise line. Same song and dance as the last customer, but this one has actually $50,000 to $60,000 a year in proven sales from their merchandise line. Well, the problem is, I guess a couple of months ago, they had a really ambitious designer that had access to Photoshop and mockups, and they did some stellar looking mockups. And I mean, we're talking just cool looking stuff, but cool from the perspective of it looks great, like from a graphics design print on screen standpoint, not from a logistic standpoint. So these people, they made the mistake of listing 9 different items. I mean, and they went like full Kanye with it. It was just crazy looking stuff, but they didn't have the ability to produce it. So they got in touch with a merchandising company before me. This is a couple months ago, and they said, "Hey, look, we want to do this stuff. Can you do it?" And the company said, "Oh yeah, sure, we can do that stuff for you." And then on their second phone call, they said, "Yeah, but we're going to need about 150 pieces of each one of these things to custom print, sew, manufacture all this stuff for you." Well, they just dropped the ball and didn't say anything. In the meantime, they put all these products up for sale on their website, and they made sales. So they come to me 2 months later. They have 2 months of sales that have just been sitting. I mean, like decaying in their ship station or whatever. And they're like, "Can you produce these things for us? We have customers that are now getting unhappy because they put orders in 8 to 10 weeks ago, and the orders are just sitting there doing nothing." And I said, "Maybe." So they emailed me over the design files, and you're talking full color, multi-location, 22-inch tall by 18-inch wide prints, stuff where it's going from sleeve to, I mean, stuff that's impossible to reproduce, whether you're doing it on DTG or otherwise. But they didn't promote this gig proper. In my opinion, they didn't promote it properly. They put one social media post out. Now this guy gets like 1 million views on his YouTube channel alone on every single one of his videos. And they put one post out on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Out of that, they got 5,000 or 6,000 or whatever. They got a lot of response from it. And it turned into a smaller number of sales. And anyways, long story short, it hasn't been easy for them to get this stuff produced. So I went in there to my contacts and I'm looking up, what it's going to cost to get done. And today I was doing all of this research. My trade DTG printer that I have already was showing that it's going to be like
boy, $15 per location for an 18-inch by 12-inch print or whatever. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be absolutely nuts. And they had multiple locations, and this is with me resizing it and sizing it down. And the sweatpants that they had were just impossible. We're talking about, even when they restructured it, most DTG companies just aren't going to touch sweatpants or anything that has like fuzz and frills in it. So I put as much of it together as I could, and it was close to $1,000. And that was not even taking into account potential setup fees, minimums on individual image location fees, a lot of like unknown unknowns there. And it stunk because, coming into a mess like this is just hard. So anyways, I got back with him with what I could, and he came back and he's like, look, in between there, I needed somebody, and I put it out on our Discord, and one guy got back in touch with me with a potential option, but I put it out on Discord and nobody could do DTG, probably because my tribe is all anti-DTG people. So maybe I shot myself in the foot there. But I think he's going to go with Printful. It's that company that John Santos mentioned in one of his videos that was pushing DTG. I think he's going to go with them. And it's going to be just as many sacrifices, but their prices per location don't seem to be that bad. So, that'll save him on that order. And then when it comes time for them to launch their actual merchandise line and do real numbers and generate real business, that's when I come in full swing, because even at $1,000 or $2,000 for that order, whatever it would have turned out to be with how many ever he was going to run, there's no money in it for us because we're not able to do it in-house on our own machines. However, with us jumping in on a much larger initiative where they're coming out with, say, 4 or 5 designs and maybe even getting a couple hats from overseas, we're talking about serious potential, because now I can get his cost per piece down into the $7-8 range. We can custom rebadge it. We can do all kinds of stuff for it. And they're going to be pulling in 140, 150 pieces. They're going to be happy because they can do 2 or 3 times their cost of goods for their final sale price. It's going to look perfect, and people aren't going to be looking at a mock-up online that looks like it goes from sleeve to sleeve, only to find out that they get something that's 12 inches by 12 inches, and it's just completely misrepresented. So that's my story about that client, and I'll let you guys know how it all starts to pan out if this comes together. The other one is slow going right now, but I'll let you know if this is something that's actively working for us, because it's interesting working with somebody who's got a musical career that's really taking off, and people who are in Hollywood seem super prestigious, but it's not always a cash client like you'd think it would be working with high profile people. Let's click on the messages that I saw here. Big Will, $1 a sheet, and then more about Discord. So yeah, ENZ, most of my videos, not this one, but most of the videos that I put on there, you'll see join the conversation on Discord, and there's a link to the Discord channel. In fact, if anybody's from Discord, just create an invite link real quick and put it in the chat here for everybody to see. And I encourage you, if you're in the screen printing business and you have questions and you want to learn more, that's the place to go, the Discord channel, because we're all talking about just what we're going through. I go on there and I talk about what I'm going through, or things I'm doing, or test out ideas for new videos with y'all on there. And then a lot of people can network, and they have networked so far. A job that you can't do, somebody else somewhere in the country is going to be able to fulfill that for you. A question that you have about something that's not working out for you, somebody in our Discord channel is going to be able to answer or help you troubleshoot it. And maybe even I will. A lot of times I'm in there, and if you @ Brands and Empires, most likely I'm going to see it, and I'll be able to interact with you and follow back up. And it's just, it feels like a community, for everybody who's in there with us. We're creating this sense of community where we're all just hanging out on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes I'll be up, on my computer, and I'll have the Discord channel in the window to the right. Something that I want to start doing that I haven't done yet because we just haven't had the response, is setting up voice masterminds. Where we get in there, and for 20 or 30 minutes, we all just go back and forth about our businesses, what's working, what isn't working, questions that we have, and help each other grow. And not everybody's comfortable doing that. I get that. Not everybody's comfortable getting on there and talking.
So I think as we grow, there'll be enough people that want to join the Discord conversation and want to chat about it. Um, yeah, no, that's all right, Danny. You're welcome to just jump in and listen and learn, And eventually, whenever you're ready to start your own business, if you haven't already, or if you want to dig in and I don't know, ask questions, just jump in and join the conversation there. Eventually, you'll be surprised. You'll surprise yourself, I think, with how fast you learn. If you're in the river, you're going to get wet, and somebody is going to jump in after you who doesn't know as much as you, and you'll be able to answer questions. And it's funny when you're first starting out, everything seems so fresh and new and so wonderful and interesting that once you're 5 or 10 years in, sometimes you forget what was cool about getting started, and you'll be in a you'll be uniquely positioned to answer some questions for new people that somebody who's been in it 5 or 10 years won't be able to. Hey, what can I do? What's something exciting that I can pursue? What's a great way to learn? What's a great way to get started? I almost forgot about that DVD, for instance. Somebody asked me a little while ago, how do you get started learning the process of screen printing? Well, I almost forgot that 9 years ago, I did exactly that. A DTG, a video DVD from Ryonet was how I got started. That and a couple of YouTube videos. And let me tell you, when I first started out screen printing, I had like a 20% spoilage rate. It was bad. I mean, I had an ugly Atlas screen printing press. This thing did not have off contact. It didn't have micro registration. I think it was copywritten for like 1986. And for whatever reason, I acquired a 6-color 4-station screen printing press, and I had like a 24-foot long conveyor dryer. And to answer that question, Danny, no, I didn't. That part of the story is I started completely out of the blue. I had a design and a limited branding and website development background, and then I jumped in like head first into screen printing. And like I was saying, my first press that I owned was a 6-color 4-station Atlas, and it was ugly. It was beat up. There was no micro registration. The pallets were all jacked up, and I ended up making my own pallets out of plywood. And the necklines, for the left sleeve and the right sleeve were like this. So if I wasn't paying attention, I'd come out with shirts that were at a 20-degree angle, and customers are like, the image is all twisted, and I have to go replace shirts. It was a nightmare. We had like a 20% spoilage, where if I delivered 100 shirts, I would have to, before I delivered them, replace 20 of those shirts. It was bad. I mean, it was so bad. And I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. To answer that question, yes. So I've had 2 Brown automatics, and the first Brown automatic I had, I hate to say it, but it was garbage. It was absolute garbage. I never got it to print right. We spent, I bought, a company had a Brown that they bought used, and they were doing $22 million a year. And all of their screen printing was done on this Brown. Well, all of their stuff that they did was one color. It was a one color black ink on high vis, and they never tuned it. They never did anything to make this thing run any smoother. The lift servo and all of the other things on it that were supposed to be good weren't. And it was just an absolute mess. I'll go back to the rest of the story in a second, Danny. But anyways, yeah. So everything about my Electroprint Stealth 8.7 was borked. I had one print in particular where I would lay a pass down, and then I would go through and I would flash it, and when it come under the exact same screen, it would do this, or it was all it couldn't. It was like, we're talking several millimeters of drift on this other Brown, and it was completely unpredictable. It was a nightmare. It was to have spent, I think I spent $10,500 on that printer, on that press, and it came with a lot of stuff. I got 2 pallets of manual screens. So I got something like 4 or 5 or 600 20 by 24 inch screens. I got a single point exposure unit. I got two conveyor dryers, one of which I'm still using. My longer conveyor dryer I ended up getting rid of. And then I got the Electroprint Stealth. So I got a lot of stuff. Original retail. We're talking. Oh, and then I got 2 quartz flash drives. So we're talking like $80,000 worth of stuff originally that I got for $10,500. And but the press was jacked. So anyways, I ended up, whenever I had the partner blowout and we hobbled through and I had a ton of debt and I decided to close the doors on my storefront,
I knew that I was coming down into a space that was too small for that auto, and I could not rely on it to be my primary source of income. So I sold that auto. So I never had a functional auto before this one. And anyways, I sold it, and then I'm pretty sure I saw the guy who bought it from me, and I disclosed everything that was wrong with it. I was under the impression from Brown that it was fixable, but I'm pretty sure the guy who bought it from me was on T-shirt forums bad mouthing that printer. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be completely wrong, but I want to say Brown, after he got it from me and after he went to spend like $5 grand trying to fix it, they're like, well, you should just buy another press because this one's so tired and broken and yada yada yada. So I don't know. Maybe it was that, maybe it wasn't. But anyways, my first experience with Brown was trash. Somebody's in Discord talking to me. Hey. But anyways, my second experience with Brown um, was this one, and it's been fantastic. Hold on, I gotta jump out of Discord because it's not gonna play through my speakers. Let me take this out real quick. Maybe it'll play over my speakers and then over my microphone. But yeah, my second experience with Brown, after I talked to the sales guy from Brown about picking up this used unit, he said that they had changed the way the lift servo works. So presumably there was less vibration in the lift mechanism that would allow it to print with less than a 1-point drift. My experience so far has been that I can print tack sharp. I mean, we're talking like 8-point font with 0 drift, multiple colors over, and I'm ecstatic with my second one. Going back to my how I got through the first year in business, it was because I had a really good deal with my landlord. They did a 70-30 split at my first location. So I had a storefront, and at my first storefront, the owner of that place was willing to do a 70-30% split. So they would take 30% of my after expense revenue. I mean, it was a super good deal. And that allowed me to make a lot of mistakes right out of the gate. And I was able to reinvest a lot of my money. I didn't take home anything. I was living at home. I had a crummy car that I paid cash for. So my bills were next to zero. I was only ever sharing 30% of my profit with the landlord. And it allowed me to incubate. And I was able to grow to about $50,000 by 2013, something like that. So yeah, I was able to get over all and from there, I was able to move into the partnership where we jumped up to almost $250,000 and had a lot of high profile customers. So we had some huge opportunities. And then I discovered my partner was on drugs, that he was embezzling massive amounts of money, and that was a nightmare situation where I had to expel him from his own storefront. His father was the landlord. It was a crazy turn of events that we lived through there. And since then, we hobbled through with some T-shirt debt. You do not want to be in a position where your net 30 accounts are over $25,000 and you're not living $25,000 in business, much less $25,000 in profit. You know what? Okay, hold on. Let me close out of Discord real quick. There. Is that better? Can y'all hear me? And is my microphone 100%? I hate that, Here I've got 10 people watching and my microphone is just jacked. Better. Wonderful. Okay, so yeah, the problem was I was in Discord. Somebody jumped in the Discord call, and I think every time they said something, it was muting my mic here. So hopefully that fixes everything. What did y'all miss of what I was saying? Was anything there and like important that y'all were not able to hear me say? Because it looks like we just lost half of our viewers in the process. Unfortunate. Let me see here. I want to check this so that everything is visible. Didn't miss much at all. Okay, so yeah. Anyways, that was what I lived through. That was the story of the business. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I tend to repeat myself a lot, or at least enough that you can follow along with my stories.
But that's how we survived the first year. That's how we survived making that many mistakes. I mean, for a while, it got to the point early on. I mean, we're talking like the first 6 months where I would over order. If I had like a 72-piece shirt order, I would over order 20% or 25% of the shirts just to make sure I could deliver on time and not run the risk of burning through, whatever I was doing, and have to deliver short and reorder later. But luckily, we got past that, and it had a lot to do with the press, man. It was so bad. But I have to say now, though, we order the exact number of shirts, and 99% of the time, we're able to deliver and be okay with it. And some of the time, we occasionally have to use our acetone gun, or it's a the spot cleaning gun. Occasionally we have to use that, but for the most part, we're able to just drop it. Because what I realized is if we over order and in shirts, you end up with just racks and racks and racks of clothes, and it's nuts. But when I finally downsized last time, I had, let me see, 6 or 7 bays. We're talking like 12-foot tall bays with 4 shelves, and we had, I don't even know how many thousands of dollars worth of blanks. And who wants a light blue short sleeve pocketed tee, even with the name of your company on it? It was just kind of an ugly color. And here we are with 100 of these and 50 of those, and we had a ton of junk. So now I'm sure whenever we start getting to the point where we have to like watch our utilization percentages more, and that's something that becomes a thing, where we're trying to be on 30, 40, 50% of the day, you better believe we're going to have to over order to make sure that we don't have to reset up screens for a job twice, because that would kill us. But right now, I'm in a position where we're just not making that many mistakes because it's me running the press, so I'm not making too many mistakes. And in the situations where we have had to go back and reset up the screens, it hasn't put us back yet on any of the other orders that we've got. So fingers crossed that what we're doing keeps up. But so far, the last couple of years, it's saved me thousands of dollars in just excess blanks that we haven't had to just house. Had a few customers come back. Also, can I get 2 more? Oh yeah. Oh man. What we've had to say for that, and maybe we are missing out on some money there, but usually if a customer comes back, I'll tell them up front. So Big Will, to get around that, if a customer I can tell they're gonna change their order, or maybe they're taking in orders from people, I'll tell them, look, if you think you're going to need more, go ahead and order more up front, because once we run this job, I'll hold the screens for 2 weeks if you can get an order of 24 pieces together. But once we've committed to this order, whatever it is, I can't just adjust it on the fly. And I'll tell them, you've got a window right now of 4 or 5 days. Get all of your orders together. Let's make sure we know exactly what you want as of, the 15th of the month, and it's the 10th. And then at that point, we can't add anything else. I'm sorry, but I'll keep the screens for another 2 weeks if you get a minimum of 2 dozen. And it's not I won't do it for a simulated process job where there's 5 colors. But if it's a 1, 2, 3 color job, sure, I'll give you a couple weeks where I'll hold the screens. I won't charge you a fresh setup, and we can just tack on an additional 24 pieces at the same price as your 72 or 144. But by just communicating that in advance, you're going to save yourself a lot of that. Oh yeah, well, by the way, I just need 2 more pieces. And sometimes you can even upsell a little bit out of that. Can you save screens if so? Yes. In fact, I've wanted to do this for a long time. Let me see if I can show y'all this screen that I've had since 2004. So look in here. Antioch Raiders 2004. All right, let's flip it over. This is a Newman roller screen. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can flip the camera around. All right, so it's starting to dry out now, but let me see here. So I have a screen that is 15 years old. Yeah, 15 years old, and it's got wet plastisol on it. So yes, you very much can hold on to screens indefinitely. They will keep. I could mount that screen right now back on a manual press, and it would be functional and I could print shirts with it. I might have to use a little bit of curable reducer to get that ink specifically to go through. But I mean, you can see 15-year-old plastisol and it's still wet. So yes, I don't think there's really a shelf life for screens as long as the glue holds. But in the case of a Newman roller, it's tension held, you know, so it'll stay there forever. Now, if you're wondering why I haven't reclaimed that screen, it's because I don't particularly like Newman rollers, and we have like 350, 400 regular aluminum frame screens that I use, and those are in rotation. So, also, quick tip, they have these premium wipes from like Sam's or wherever. These are just baby wipes, and let me tell you, these are the best ink cleanup wipes I've ever come across, and there's no harsh chemicals in it. You know, I used to spend, I don't know, $15 on 100 wipes for like the ink removing wipes that are special from the screen printing supply places, and they say they're kind of safe for your skin and stuff, but I wouldn't trust it. And Press Wash 4, if you read the safety label on it, it talks about neurological damage. Baby wipes, man. You get 1,000 wipes for $20. These things are always next to the press. There's no reason to spend $15 on 100 wipes. In fact, when I was disassembling my Brown back in July to bring it down here, we had the opportunity to side-by-side test the expensive wipes. I mean, you're $20 for 100 wipes next to the baby wipes. The baby wipes did just as fine. I was shocked at the racket that goes into those. But yeah, baby wipes. Does anybody else have any questions? We're at the hour mark. I'm losing my voice. I'm getting hungry. I need to go inside and just hang out. So let me know. Do we have anything else that you guys have as pressing questions before we call it for the night? Anybody? I don't even know how much of a delay we've got, because on Twitch there's like a 30-second delay. On here, I don't know, it could be 5 seconds, could be 10 seconds. Good night, Dep Dad. I appreciate you hanging out for the entire stream. That's nice of you. Thank you. Congrats on the baby. So I have a baby. I've got another one on the way. Oh, an acetone gun. All right, Devin. Let me see if I can show you this here. This is an acetone gun right here. So inside there you put acetone. And it's a 40-watt gun that you can sit there and blow ink out of a shirt. In fact, maybe I've got some ink on something that I can blow out here and show you how it works. No, everything I've got is labeled with customers' names and area codes and stuff like that. So I apologize, but I can't show you the acetone gun in action. But I think they're about $100 if you pick up an acetone gun somewhere in that range. And they're not called acetone guns. They're called spot removing guns. And there's a generic name if you get them from China. But most of them, if you go with like the manufacturer recommended stuff, they use a chemical called diclometh. And that's like a hobby glue. But when you put it in a gun, it'll liquefy the plastisol, eat it up, and shoot it through the garment. Even easier than acetone. Acetone just happens to be like $17 a gallon, so everybody uses acetone in their gun instead of $35 or $40 per gallon for the diclometh stuff. But anyways, I think I'm going to call it here for the night, guys, and we'll go from there. Take care, y'all. Bye.